109 years ago tonight, on the Straits of the Dardanelles, thousands of Australians waited to land at Gallipoli. On that same night, on that same day, the blood was started to be shed of the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek peoples. On the 15th of April, as the massacres continued, so too did Australians also shed blood on that soil. Our nations and our lives have been interlinked ever since. I'd like to recognise tonight the religious leaders who are here, Your Eminence, religious fathers, the over 40 community leaders, my parliamentary friends and colleagues, and particularly the leadership of the ANC and the organisers tonight. This time, 3 years ago, I walked the land of Artsakh in Armenia with parliamentary colleagues, some which are here tonight. In September of last year, we couldn't. We arrived as co-chair of the delegation from New South Wales and Victoria. We arrived in Armenia as the Azeris continued their pursuit and attacks on Artsakh. Our first days were spent travelling down to the border of Goris, not seeing refugees, seeing thousands and thousands of Armenians, ethnic Armenians from Artsakh, where they'd been for thousands of years, being pursued by the Azeri military, while Russian peacekeepers did nothing. The tears in the eyes of the old people, the fear in the eyes of the children, will never be forgotten by myself or the members of our delegation. We spoke with so many people those days. We spoke to the International Red Cross and so many other aid agencies that were trying to help as this unfolding humanitarian crisis continued around us. Upon returning to New South Wales, we spoke, all of us spoke, in this Parliament, in New South Wales and in Victoria, of witnessing the death of a nation and the destruction of a democracy at the hands of a dictatorship, while the world did nothing. Tonight we remember what happened 109 years ago. We remember the genocide. I'm not afraid to say that word. And I know my colleagues in New South Wales aren't either. Because that's what it was. And we saw last year, and we see even today, it continuing. We must recognise that Artsakh is Armenian, it always has been and it always will be. And we must stand and recognise the genocide as a nation. Our nations are intertwined and always have been since those days and will continue to be so. As was mentioned before, in the New South Wales Parliament and the Legislative Council, we passed a resolution to expand the teaching of Holocaust education across New South Wales schools to recognise and educate acts of genocide carried out against the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocides peoples. This lays the groundwork for establishment of a museum, but most importantly, educating our children about the truth, all our children, because they must know. It must be known what has happened. The atrocities that we saw happening in Artsakh, that we've seen continue by the Azeri persecutions of the Armenian people, by the political prisoners, must also be acknowledged and called out. But most importantly, our national government in Australia must recognise the genocide. And I know that myself and my parliamentary colleagues are committed to have that happen in New South Wales. We are committed to convince our federal colleagues that after so many years, and now 3 states acknowledging genocide, they need to as well. I continue to stand with my community. I continue to stand with my Armenian, Syrian and Greek community. May God bless you all as we remember, and we will never forget, the genocide of 1915.